Welcome to the Get More Success Show.
He's a guy who never measured a man's success by the size of his wallet.
Let's get ready to rumble!
It's showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. It's showtime.
Showtime! Let's go!
And now, here is your host, Warwick Merry.
Welcome back to another episode of Getting More Success. Now today, I hope you're feeling fit. I hope you're feeling healthy because we have an ultra runner with us today. And it gives me a great pleasure to have my friend Richard Bowles on the line. Richard, welcome.
Warwick Merry. Do you know, I hate the word ultra. It reminds me of washing detergent.
Okay, so let's no longer an ultra runner. You're a mega runner. You're an insane runner. You're a man who runs distances that people are too scared to drive. So give us an example. What's the longest distance you've run?
Well, let's put it into context. I like to call myself an adventure runner. So I run mountain trails that span entire nations. So that's anything from 1,000 to 5,500 kilometers in length. So I run on average about 2 marathons a day. And to put that into some perspective, I guess, if you're in Melbourne, that's like running from the CBD to Frankston and back every single day. Chuck a few mountains in there, and it kind of starts to paint a bit of a picture of the kind of running that I do.
It's to me, it's insane. But then again, everyone does something different. And I suppose that leads into the question I like to ask people, because everyone has a different definition. How do you define success?
It's a good word, isn't it? It's a good word. I think success is growth. I think it's growth, progress, development. I think that success is a feeling. And I think most people get it confused as being something, like the goal itself. And I think once you get to the goal, does that make you successful, or do you open your eyes to the next thing? So I think, yeah, it's about growing. And if we're not growing, then we don't feel successful. And I've kind of experienced that myself recently. I've had some dark patches in my life, in my work. And that's made me, I guess, not feel that successful. And that in itself doesn't make you feel confident, focused, motivated, and all those other attributes that you put towards success. So I think it's a feeling, and I think it's a bunch of small successes every single day, which makes you grow and develop, which deems you a success.
Okay. So I'm really interested in your adventure running, because you and I have had conversations before. You've done things like run around an active volcano. You've run up mountains that others just want to climb, and you run up and over through snowstorms and blizzards. You've run essentially the distance like from Melbourne to Cairns. Like, you've done some out there kind of things. So what got you started? At what stage did you go, I know, I'll run 5,000 kilometers?
Yeah, well, you don't dream that up. Like, you just don't. If you dream things like that up, you need to go and see somebody. You know, but this is the whole idea of what I'm just speaking about, is that, you know, it's development for me. You know, it started off with a run around the block, and who would have thought, you know, 5 years later I'd be running, you know, the length of continents. Like, it's pretty crazy, right? So it started with a run around the block. A guy wanting to shed a few kilos, who's in a corporate sales career, lots of eating and drinking and all the stuff that goes with that. And I just needed to lose some weight. And it really just started with this jogging around the block twice a week. And literally maybe a kilometer each time, you know. From that, it goes to a 5K fun run, a 10K. And then I decided that I'd run a marathon, and they said to me, if you run a marathon, it will change your life. I was like, whatever, you know. So I ran my first marathon back, would have been, maybe 10 years ago. And I crossed the finish line. I remember thinking, it's not changed my life. I feel exactly the same. But it's not until now that I realized what that statement meant, is that it's completely changed my life. You know, this is my career. This is what I do for work. You know, I go around the world and have some amazing experiences, both internally and externally.
Right. So give us an example. What are some of the adventure runs that you have done?
Well, it actually started for me in running the world's longest mark trail. I thought to myself, if I'm going to do such a thing, then let's just pick the world's longest mark one, right? It just makes sense. So And that happens to be here in Australia. It's called the Bicentennial National Trail. It starts in Hillsville in Victoria and finishes in Cooktown in far north Queensland. So it's the total length of the Great Dividing Range. That's the longest I've ever done to date. I ran a marathon a day for basically half a year. Right? And it's funny because when I look back on that particular run right now, I don't deem myself successful at it because these days I run twice the distance over the same amount. Twice the distance each day over the same amount of time. And I see, so that's kind of that growth and development thing. From there, I went over to New Zealand. There's a trail there that goes through the mountains, another 3,054 kilometers. I went to Israel, around the Israel's National Trail, which had its own complications, trying to run through a war zone, essentially.
I was going to say, there was bullets involved in that one, wasn't there?
On the first day, actually, Warwick, there was literally, like, woo, boom, missiles flying over my head on day one. Then you question yourself, so what am I doing here? Like,
well, did you know that was going to be the case? Did you know that it was an active war zone?
Maybe they put on the fireworks for me. I don't know, but I kind of no, I didn't. I didn't. And I was in the middle of the desert, and I thought, well, I've either got to turn around and go back, or just carry on ahead. And I just carried on. And it never happened again.
Right.
Until I was chased by a tank, and the stories go on. But,
yeah.
From there, what else did I do? I've been there, but you mentioned the volcano. That was in Sumatra. Ran across the northern tip of Sumatra. Around an active volcano. That was probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever done in my career. What else?
Did your shoes melt? Like, was it that hot that your shoes the rubber was melting? Or
look, there was literally stones the size of cricket balls falling out of the sky. Like, it was crazy. Like, we had to take some shelter under some old corrugated iron or something, if I remember rightly. But it just a water cool experience, you know. And I literally did that just to gain some attention, and it worked. Like, look at this idiot running around an exploding volcano. So for me, it was purely just an attention exercise. So I've literally been all around the world. I mean, even in Australia, I've done a couple of big trails here, apart from the Bicentennial, the Hyson Trail over in South Australia. That's 1,200 kilometers long in 14 days. So that's kind of the level I'm at now, is that I'm doing this like 1,200 kilometer kind of runs in a 14-day period,
right?
Which is extreme in itself. Yeah.
And because the interesting thing is, and you and I have had this discussion on several occasions, you actually don't like running.
Isn't that funny?
It's like, so you're running a couple of marathons a day. So we're talking about 100 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
And you don't like running. So just run me through that. Like, how does that work?
I don't think any runner that tells me I love running, I wish I could do what you go and do. It's like, nah, no one loves running, right? Fun run? Like, where's the fun in that, right? So running itself, it makes you sweat, yuck. You chafe. Yep, I said that word. You're out of breath. There's all those. It's uncomfortable. Like, as soon as I leave the front door each morning to go out for my run, I can't wait until it's over. It's only when it's over that I go, this is why I do it. It's right. An amazing experience. So the actual activity of running, I do not enjoy at all. And I guess that leads into, the whole pain, discomfort, fear kind of area. It's like every day when I go out there to run, I experience all those things: discomfort, pain, physically, mentally, but they're really on your side. Like, I think if we can look at them as a good thing and areas where we need to grow and develop, then they're kind of a good thing. So through the activity of running, which I hate so much, like paperwork, like emails, like accounting stuff, hate all of that too. But you learn stuff and you grow and develop and you move forward. And I think that's what I like about running.
Right. So as you're running your 100 kilometres a day, which is the activity you're not enjoying doing as you're doing it, how do you stay focused? Like, how do you... Because, like, running 100K, you like, that's 8 hours of running, yeah? Something like that?
More than sometimes. The thing is, the trail dictates how long I'm going to be out there for.
Right, so you know, uphill, down dale, through rivers, you know, all over the place. So how do you maintain the focus? How do you maintain the, I've still got to put another foot in front of the other and do it at speed because otherwise I'm going to be here forever?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's tough, right? Well, for me, it's about being in the moment. I think to be focused is just me being in the moment. And I think what I'm trying to say there is that a lot of people always ask me, what do you think about? Like, what do you think about when you're out there for 8, 12 hours a day, solo in the wilderness? And I'm not thinking about saving the world or what I'm going to do next. I'm literally thinking about the activity at hand. Like, do I need to eat now? Do I need to drink now? Have I taken a wrong turn on a 5,500 kilometer run? You don't want to take a wrong turn. All sorts of things. Am I breathing? Am I chafing? Am I feeling okay? All those things are going through my mind constantly throughout the day. It just repeats and repeats and repeats. And that's just being in the moment and purely focused on the activity at hand. But when I've lost that in the moment connection with what I'm doing, or not be focused, if we like, I've literally nearly lost my life. I got blown, well, I didn't blown, I tripped off the top of a mountain in New Zealand and tumbled literally 80 meters, only to be saved by 2 rocks that sort of latched onto my backpack, and my legs were hanging off the edge of a cliff. And the only reason that happened is because I didn't think about what I was doing, and I was thinking about all the things I'd rather be doing. So I guess the message out there is that it's not about, if you're not focused at the job at hand, what's happening right now, because we can't control the future and the past has been, then if you let things distract you, you just go off course. Now, for me, that was tumbling down a mountainside. For somebody else, it's just going down the wrong path and wasting a whole lot of time, money, and energy going in completely the wrong direction. So I think to be focused, it's just being mindfulness. It's just that mindfulness thing of just being in the moment and not thinking about anything else but right now. Not about the next meeting that's coming up or what you're going to make the kids for dinner tonight or any of those things. It's just what can I do right now? And I think that's focus.
Yeah. So how do you come up with the different ideas of locations of where you want to run or the different opportunities? Are you just like, what's going to give me the most attention, or what's the craziest thing that I could do, or what's an interesting place I'd like to go to, or how does it come up with it?
Do you know, I think they find me. They just come. It's like opportunities. They just arise when you start doing stuff. I was contacted recently by a company in Western Australia that wants me to go and run a trail over there. Like, I know of the trail. I've never thought about it before. But just, me being out and about doing stuff just brings up these opportunities where people say, hey, why don't you come and do this? Or have you thought about this? I don't get out a map as much as I have a globe behind me here. I don't spin it and go, right, let's go there. Because that's just torture. I just don't like the thought of that. I'm going to go and put in Japan, what there? So yeah, I think they just find me. And I think all these opportunities find anybody when you're out there just being active and growing and developing yourself, and just striving for more. Things kind of fall on your lap. And for me, that helps me go and do the next phase of my life or my career, set another world record and just move on. It's kind of an exciting thing. So
what's the bigger challenge for you, physical or mental?
Mental, probably. Actually, mental's a funny one because mentally it destroys it when I get back. That's when really mentally it hurts me. I think I'm that focused and at the job at hand that that's all there is. It's just getting from A to B each day. Of course, there's other things in there like farmers with shotguns and wild dogs and tanks and stuff, but it's just about getting from A to B. So it's kind of mentally it's harder when I get back. Though it's hard because I've sat down, as you know, Warwick, with a whole host of psychologists here in Australia, for anywhere from sports psychology to past life regression, personality experts, just to try and explore my own mind and how I'm able to get from A to B over such a long haul. And it's just really interesting. Like I'm pretty messed up, I think. You think? He says. It's definitely. They say to me, "Well, it's purely mental when you're out there." I just don't see it when I'm in it. I think that's what it is. And when I come back and I think about what I've done and all the things I have to do on a day-to-day basis, that becomes really difficult. But physically, of course, completely wipes you, like completely wipes you. And you can't train to run 5,500 kilometers. You don't just go out for a 3,000k training run. Like it just doesn't happen. So physically, there's only so far the body's going to take me, and the rest is just a pure mental game.
So how do you train for a 5,000 kilometer run?
I think life. You know, it's funny. I was running up. There's a big climb in the Dandenongs here in Victoria. I often run up and down, and it's pretty rugged and it's steep in some sections. You kind of on your hands and knees as you get towards the top. And some guy says to me, "Oh, are you training for something?" I said, "Yeah, life, because life's probably the toughest thing ever." It's that's kind of how you train for it. I draw on all the hardship and the bad times and the struggles and the challenges that I've had. Like that might sound ridiculous, but that's kind of where it's at for me. Like, right. Of course I run, but again, I can't run 50, 60, 80, 100 Ks a day just to train. Yeah. It just has to be part of my life, you know, and I go out every morning and maybe knock off 15, 20 kilometers, maybe something a bit longer at the weekend, but I'm not running the distances I do within the project for training itself. Right.
So you've talked about being chased by a tank, dogs, farmers with shotguns, almost plummeting off a cliff, being held back by rocks. Give us a bit of the goss. Like the farmer with a shotgun. Tell me more. What's that?
Pick one.
Go the farmer with a shotgun.
Farmer with a shotgun. Well, the farmer with a shotgun. I mean, you know, it's a funny experience. When I sat down with these psychiatrists and psychologists, if you like, I should say psychiatrists, that means pills and stuff. Therapists, let's say. I was talking about just some stuff just in my life, general in my life. And I said, you know, it's nothing like when you've had a shotgun stuffed down your throat. She was like, what? Because it was normal for me and I just moved on. She was like, oh, well, just let's take it back just a few steps. Shotgun in your mouth. Like, that's something you need to tell your therapist. Like, that's happened. But for me, it's kind of like, I look back on it, like, I don't ever remember being scared or fearful, and it's not because I'm a superhero. I mean, I'm far from that. But I think at the time it was just an inconvenience for me. And basically, it was along Australia's Great Dividing Range. I was probably 4,000 Ks into this 5,500 K run. You know, I don't need your crap, mate. I've just ran 4,000 kilometers in the wilderness. I don't need this crap. You know, and he was basically a guy who just lived in the middle of nowhere. And before I met him, I met his dog. I'd been out at this stage probably in the wilderness without seeing my team probably for 3 days. And next thing I know, I've got this pig dog just running towards me, frothing at the mouth, you know. Rah, rah, rah. So I took off my backpack to try and fight it off. And then I noticed this guy in the corner of my eye. He was chopping up some wood. And I was like, well, hopefully he comes and he saves me. Like, this dog frothing everywhere. I'm really angry. So I'm trying to fight off this dog, and he sees me, and he puts down his axe, and he starts walking over to me, and he picks something outside, which was the shotgun. And as he headed towards me, he goes, "Fluffy, be quiet." It's like, first of all, who calls a dog like that fluffy? Like, yeah. And his next words were, "Who the beep are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Richard. I'm running the National Trail of Australia." He goes, "You who?" Like, get off my effing property. And like, he was a typical Queenslander. No offense to Queenslander out there, but the language was appalling. And he just kept putting his shotgun closer and closer and closer to me until he had it literally in the side of my face like this, and just said, you know, and his words were, "I'm going to effing shoot you." And I just said, "Well, I'm doing it for charity." And I just, all these things were coming out. And I was very calm and just kind of just telling what I was doing and where I was going, and I wasn't kind of, you know, like angry or upset or scared. And then I noticed that he had this kind of orchard just to the side. I said, "Look, I like your orchard." And he goes, "Oh yeah." And he dropped his shotgun. He goes, "I've been growing those mandarins for a while now." I said, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, the sun's blessed them. They're beautiful." He was telling me all about them. "Would you like to try one?" I said, "Absolutely, of course I would." So he goes off and plucks these mandarins off the tree, and he comes back, and I was pretending it was like the poisonous apple, right? So I was throwing all my segments down to Fluffy. He was eating them. And it was, oh yeah, the sun's got them this year. They're so sweet. They're so blah, blah, blah. He goes, anyway, to continue on your journey, you need to just go down the fence line here and jump over that gate down there. I was like, right, so glad I bumped into you. Thank you very much. We shook hands and off I trotted. And as I cocked my leg over the fence to go into the next field, he shouts out, anyway, it's not me you need to be scared of. It's my neighbour. So I tiptoed my way for the next 40 kilometres just trying to get to the team. But
Man.
Look, most of my crazy and weird stories like that come out of Australia. Not even Israel, not even Sumatra, not even the jungles or anywhere else. Like, it literally comes out of Australia. Like, the Great Dividing Range is a weird and wonderful place.
And you coming across with a nice Brit accent, like straight away you're going to be on the back foot. You're not from around here, are you, mate?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think I had like a polka dot T-shirt on at the time, which wouldn't have helped.
So how does... Let's go to a business model. Like, so you're running all around the world doing insane, crazy things and, enjoying it at the end. So what's your business model around that?
Well, commitment. Now, that's something that really came up for me when I sat down with all these experts. Like, I literally went and sat down with all these psychological experts around the country, so I could teach people kind of how do I get from A to B, or how do we get from A to B. Running's one thing, but it's mental. Like, every day I have to get and put my shoes on when you don't feel like it, and every day for most people feels like that. So I sat down with these people to figure out what goes on in here. And through doing that, I realized that all it came down to is me having a tremendous amount of commitment.
Right.
And we all have commitment, but we often choose as and when we'd like to use it. And commitment, I think, scares people. I think the word commitment, people go like, well, commitment. And the reason why it scares people is because it means, for most people, that you have to deliver. It means no excuses are acceptable. It doesn't matter how big if it's a small goal or a massive goal, there's just no excuses. And that's why it scares people. They're reluctant to commit to stuff because then they know that they can't make excuses and they have to, come up with some sort of result. But really, commitment is all about knowing what you really want.
Yeah.
And when you think of it like that, that's not scary.
Yeah.
But what do you really want? And I believe that if we can get kind of emotionally tied to what we're really trying to achieve in our work, and most of the time that's got nothing to do with the work itself. Like, I sit down with a whole bunch of salespeople in particular. How do we get salespeople committed to long-term success? And what we find out is that when we drill down enough is that those guys, it's not about the money and it's not really about the job. Like, it's just about freedom most of the time. Or they want to prove their dad wrong, or they want, some security for their family, or whatever the case may be. But it's never anything to do with the actual work and the actual dollar side of it. It goes much deeper than that. And the top 3% of any sales team, they're the ones that kick all of the goals. And when you sit down and talk to those people, they tell you exactly that. My goal is this. Nothing to do with the dollars on the board. Everybody else thinks it's about the dollars on the board. And that's why they don't ever reach that quota. Just that top 3% do all the time. Because they're focusing on something that you can't really get that excited about. Like, it's very easy to get knocked sideways when you're trying to focus on dollars. But if you're focusing on freedom, or you're focusing on security, that gets you excited in the morning. Like, to get up and go, today I'm working on being free. Today I'm working on massive amounts of security in my life. Like, that's exciting. Money, it's kind of like, it's exciting, but it's just hard to stay focused and committed on the dollar amount itself. So it's just about finding out what you really want and being very clear on that, emotionally tied to that, so you feel that. That's what gives you that burning desire. And then going out and just taking some action based on those things.
So what drives you? Like, what's the vision that you hold? You continue to doing your adventure running and running these enormous distances. And as you say, it's not just the distances, it's the altitude, it's the terrain, it's the almost unnatural environments for human beings to actually be in. And like, so what drives you?
Yeah, as we established before, it isn't the running. It's not a guy going pursuing his passion. And I think if people think after this amount of time we've been speaking that that's what this is about, then you just missed the point, because it's not about me pursuing a passion. I'm a passionate about a lot of stuff, but it doesn't mean it's going to make my work any easier. It's just, I don't think it's passion. So for me, like, I have a really connected to proving to myself something. I don't know what that is, and I don't know if I need to establish what it is. I mean, my upbringing was interesting, let's say. My dad left us when I was 10. And it's kind of funny when I sit down with these psychological people, they say, well, you don't remember anything before you were 10. Like, you've kind of really locked all that stuff away. And, I was bullied a fair bit by my dad before that. My sister picked on me a bit. I was terrible at school. I was picked on at school, and my spelling was bad. Still is. People comment on my Facebook posts, you spelled that wrong, get over it. So, I had kind of a bit of a sad upbringing, and then I actually latched on to performing arts. I actually took a degree and passed with flying colours in performing arts. And I was told that you've got great, you're going to go somewhere within the acting world. And I was kind of, I guess, I went off course and followed money in a job and going out partying and girls and all that kind of stuff you want to do when you're a young man or a young girl, I guess. And since then, that's kind of been really, I regret that a lot. Every day I regret that I didn't pursue that. So it's only this last 5 years that I've done some pretty amazing stuff. And I think right now it's me proving to myself that I can do something pretty amazing, because I didn't do something pretty amazing. And when I look back further, I think my whole life it's been like that, at least since I was 10. I think the only reason I'm here in Australia is me following that passion. And people say, well, why is that? And I say, because leaving a little village in England to go to the other side of the world as a teenage guy to live solo without your family and friends, I think it's me trying to be somebody and prove to myself that I can do something pretty amazing. And that's kind of where it is for me. So I actually don't know, Warwick, if it will be running moving forward. Could be anything. It doesn't need to be sport even. I don't know where it's going to take me, and I just have faith that all the right things will come my way, and I'll pursue whatever comes along. And at the moment, that still seems to be running.
So what's next for you? Do you have another adventure trip planned?
Well, we've got quite a few things on there. I say me because I say us, sorry, because it's not just me. There's a bunch of people that help me out. I'm a big believer in having a really strong team and people that support what you do. And yeah, there's a few things in the part work. I mean, there's this idea of maybe going over and running the Bibulum track in Western Australia, which is the 1,000 Ks. I think the current record on that is 15 days and 9 hours. I believe I could probably do that in 12, so that'd be a really nice way to, knock off a new record. But then it's like anything, it's getting it funded, it's having the time. These things I can't just go over there and run it. I need a team, I need dollars to do that. There's another idea I'm thinking about, just going around the world and just running 1,000-kilometer trails on every continent, just in 1 year. There's heaps of ideas. There's heaps of ideas. And then there's ideas not to run. There are ideas to do stuff. Like maybe open up a beauty salon and spend all of my time there getting myself pampered.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So you've had a lot of experience, you've learned a lot of stuff. For the success that you've achieved, what are like 3 things you'd wish you'd known earlier? If you could go back and save yourself a bit of pain early on, what are some of the things that you'd wish you'd known earlier?
I wish I knew that I'm my own problem. We are our own problems. We create our own blockages and challenges, or we don't need to. I wish I knew that you just need to stay focused on the one thing that you truly believe in. And I think the other one is just exertion. Just like you've just got to put action in. You just got to constantly be active, and that can be running, day after day to get to the end point, or on doing emails or whatever you're doing within your work. So I think those three things I've really learned, that we create our own challenges and our own problems, that you should just go and pursue whatever you feel, like that real burning desire, regardless, and just put the whole work in together.
Yeah, cool. Hey, Richard, fantastic chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to get in touch with you, because obviously you go and work with sales teams and other organisations to help them have their own ultimate adventures. So how do people get in touch with you?
Well, can I take a break? Because I'm tired after all that. It's exhausting. It's like just reminiscing about all the things I've done. It's like, oh my God. Whoa. You can contact me directly through my website, which is just my name, richardbowles.com.au. And Bowles is like Camilla Parker Bowles, Bowles, but we're not related. Thank God. So richardbowles.com.au. You can contact me through social media there too.
Fantastic. Richard, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
No worries, Warwick. Good to speak with you.
You've been watching and listening to the Get More Success show with Warwick Merry. Look forward to having you back again next time.
Thanks for listening to the Get More Success show with Warwick Merry. Continue the conversation with other successful people over at getmoresuccess.com. That's where you'll find all the show notes as well as a link to our Facebook group that we'd love for you to join. Getmoresuccess.com is also where you'll find all the information you need to connect with me, your host, Warwick Merry. Thanks for listening, and we hope you can get more success.